She sat there with a self-satisfied smirk, mocking a shy, middle-aged man on his first night until he was physically shaking. She thought she was the queen of the industry, untouchable and superior because of her trainer status at our sister location. She wanted free food, stacked discounts, and a birthday song. Well, we gave her that song. And it was the last thing she ever heard before her entire career went up in flames. If you've ever worked in service and had to smile through the teeth of a customer who treated you like dirt, this one is for you. Hit that subscribe button and like this video to stand up for every worker who's ever been bullied. Let's get into a story of the loudest, sweetest justice I've ever witnessed. Back in 2015, I was living the life of a typical nursing student, exhausted, caffeinated, and perpetually short on cash. To keep the lights on and the tuition paid, I worked as a waitress at a local restaurant that was a bit of an anomaly in the modern world. We didn't advertise. No billboards, no radio spots, no buy one get one flyers in the Sunday paper. The owners prided themselves on word of mouth. They believed that if the food was excellent and the service was impeccable, the community would do the marketing for us. Because of that philosophy, the stakes were always high. One bad experience didn't just mean one lost customer, it felt like a stain on our reputation. I'd been there for several months, which in restaurant years makes you a seasoned veteran. I wasn't an official trainer, but the managers trusted me. They knew I was reliable, that I knew the menu like the back of my hand, and that I had the temperament to support the newbies once the trainers officially let them off the leash. That brings us to David. I'll call him David for the story. David was an older guy, probably in his late 40s or early 50s, at least twice my age at the time. He was a little shy, a little awkward, and clearly terrified of making a mistake. You could see the nerves in the way he gripped his notepad and the way he double-checked every drink order before leaving the station. I liked him instantly. He was a hard worker who actually cared about doing a good job. On the night of our tale, David was finally released. It was his first night handling his own complete section. The managers had strategically placed him in the section right next to mine. It was a safety net. I could keep an eye on his tables while I ran my own, ready to hop in if he hit the weeds, that frantic, drowning state where the orders pile up and the brain shuts down. The night started off busy, but manageable. David was doing great, though I could see the sweat beads on his forehead. Then, they walked in. A round table of 6. All in their 20s. They had that specific brand of youthful attitude, the kind that looks for reasons to be dissatisfied. They weren't just customers, they were a storm front. David approached them with his best professional smile, but I saw his shoulders tense. Within minutes, he was scurrying over to me, looking pale and confused. "They want something called the Southwest Wrap," he whispered, his voice trembling. I told them it's not on our menu, but the leader, this girl, she says they have the ingredients in the back and that the other location makes it for her all the time. She told me to just go make it happen. My blood pressure took its first little jump of the night. I knew that other location. It was our sister restaurant across town. Same owners, slightly different vibe. But you don't just walk into a restaurant and demand off-menu items because you feel special. I could have told David to go back and tell her no. I could have taught him to stand his ground right then and there. But looking at the panic in his eyes, it was his first solo night. His confidence was already brittle. I didn't want him to have a confrontation that would ruin his flow. "Go ask the line," I told him. "If the cooks are cool with it, we'll do it. If not, I'll handle the table for you." The cooks, surprisingly, were in a good mood. They had the tortillas and the fixings, so they shrugged and agreed. We thought that would be the end of it. We thought if we gave her this special treatment, she'd settle down and be a decent human being. We were dead wrong. That wrap was the green light for the leader of the table. Every time David approached, she had a new demand. Every time he returned with the item she asked for, she suddenly remembered something else she needed. It was a calculated game of run the waiter. I kept my promise to David. I started slotting his other tables into my own cycles. While he was being held hostage by the round table of doom, I was refilling drinks at his four tops and dropping checks for his couples. I was his silent partner, his emotional support animal in a black apron. But I couldn't stop what was happening at that main table. Every time David walked away from them, his face looked more haggard. He looked like he was about to drop his tray and walk out the back door forever. She's being so mean, he told me in the kitchen, his hands shaking as he plated a salad. She's mocking my service. She's telling her friends, loud enough for me to hear, that I'm the worst waiter she's ever seen. And she keeps saying she knows better because she's a trainer at the other location. The world stopped for a second. A trainer? My nursing school brain, usually focused on empathy and healing, suddenly switched to combat mode. I am a firm believer in the service industry code: you never treat a fellow server like that. Especially if you're a trainer. You know exactly what it feels like to be in the weeds. You know the stress. You know the etiquette. If she was truly a trainer, she was committing the ultimate betrayal of the craft. As the night wore on, the restaurant began to empty out. Because David was a new waiter, the managers were cutting us early, letting us close our section so we could get home. The only problem was the round table. They were the last ones left in our entire half of the building. They were lingering, savoring the fact that they were keeping us there. David came to me one last time at the computer terminal. He looked sick. They want their check, he said. But the leader, she's demanding an employee discount. Actually, she gave me 3 different employee ID numbers from the other location and said she wants them all applied to the one bill to cover the whole group. Is that even allowed? I stared at the screen. I felt a literal heat rising from my chest, like lava bubbling up. An employee discount? I asked. And she's been berating you this whole time? David nodded, looking down at his shoes. She told her friends it was educational for me. That she was showing me what a real demanding customer looks like so I'd get better. Then she said it's her birthday, and 3 other people's birthdays, and she wants free cakes for everyone. And she wants the song. Right now. I didn't say anything for a moment. I just breathed. I looked over at the table. The leader was sitting there with a smug, self-satisfied grin, laughing with her friends, clearly proud of how she'd broken the old guy. She didn't know that she had just handed me the ammunition I needed to end her. David, I said, my voice eerily calm. Go to the back. Prep the cakes. Do not bring them out until I give you the signal. I'm going to go talk to the boss about that. Employee discount. David looked relieved to be out of the line of fire. I, on the other hand, marched straight to the front-end manager's office. Our managers were amazing. They were the kind of people who would jump on the line to flip burgers if the kitchen was backed up. And they had a zero-tolerance policy for people trashing the word-of-mouth reputation of our brand, especially if that person was supposedly on the payroll. I gave the manager the rundown. I told him about the off-menu demands. I told him about the mocking, the educational bullying, and the fact that this girl was claiming to be a trainer at our sister site while trying to stack discounts that she knew were non-stackable. The manager's face didn't get red. It went pale. That's how you knew he was truly furious. She gave you her employee ID? He asked. She gave David 3 of them, I replied. He reached for the desk phone. I'm going to make a phone call to the general manager. You, go gather the troops. If she wants a birthday song, we're going to give her a birthday song she'll never forget. I ran through the restaurant. We were closing down, so we had plenty of staff available. I grabbed waitresses from the other section, the busboys, the hostess, and even the dishwasher, a giant of a man with a voice like a foghorn. Listen up, I whispered, the group huddling around me in the kitchen. Table 42. Corner booth. The girl in the middle is a trainer from the other side who spent the last 2 hours making David's life a living hell. She wants the birthday song. She wants it immediately. We are going to give her every decibel we've got. On the count of 3, we go out. And we don't just sing. We screech. We lined up. It was the largest birthday contingent I've ever seen. Probably 15 of us, all grinning with a kind of predatory ecstasy. David led the way with the tray of free cakes. As we approached the table, the leader's smirk grew. She looked at her friends as if to say, see? I told you I run this place. She wasn't ready. We surrounded that corner booth. Because they were in a corner, the acoustics were perfect. It was like a natural megaphone. We started the song. We didn't just sing happy birthday. We screamed it. It wasn't melodic. It was a wall of sound, a literal audio onslaught. The dishwasher's bass voice was vibrating the silverware on the table. I was hitting high notes that could have shattered crystal. The leader's smile didn't just fade, it vanished. Her hands flew to her ears. Her friends jumped, their eyes wide with genuine shock and physical pain. But we didn't stop. Our restaurant had a notoriously long, repetitive birthday song. We stretched out every syllable. We clapped our hands right next to their heads. We were ecstatic. We were celebrating. We were deafening. By the time we hit the final hooray, the entire table was cowering. They looked physically shaken. The silence that followed was heavy and ringing. Happy birthday! I chirped, my voice dripping with fake honey. Now, if you'll just follow me to the host stand, the manager has your check ready. And, he has a little something extra for you. The leader tried to regain her composure as she walked to the front. She was trying to act annoyed, but you could tell her ears were still ringing. She reached for the check, expecting her stacked discounts to have made it nearly zero. Instead, the manager was standing there, holding the cordless office phone. He wasn't smiling. There seems to be an issue with your employee IDs, he said coldly. And your behavior tonight. In fact, someone would like to speak with you. He handed her the phone. I watched her face. It went from arrogant, to confused, to ghostly white. I couldn't hear the other side of the conversation, but I knew who it was. It was the general manager, the guy one step below the owner. The guy who decided who was trainer material and who was unemployed material. But sir, she stammered, her voice cracking. It was a joke. I was trying to teach him. She started to cry. Big, fat, ugly tears of realization. Her friend stood behind her, awkwardly looking at the floor, suddenly realizing that their cool friend had just nuked her own life. The manager took the phone back. "No discounts tonight," he told her. "In fact, you're lucky we're charging you the standard price for those cakes." She paid the full bill. No tip for David, of course, but it didn't matter. The look on David's face as he watched her stumble out the door, sobbing into her hand, was worth more than any tip he could have earned in a lifetime. She was fired. We confirmed it a few days later through the grapevine. The general manager didn't care how good she was at her job. You don't represent the brand by bullying the staff of a sister location. David didn't quit. In fact, he became one of the best waiters we had. He found his confidence that night, realizing that even when the world sends you a bully, there are people who will have your back, and they might just sing a song loud enough to tear the roof off while they do it. The service industry is a small world, and karma has a way of finding you through the very people you think you're above. If you're a trainer or a leader, your job is to lift people up, not use them as a footstool. Because you never know when the person you're mocking is actually the one holding the volume knob to your future. Have you ever seen a bully get exactly what they deserved in the most public way possible? Tell me your stories in the comments. I want to hear about every Karen who got a reality check. Like this video if you think she got what she earned, and subscribe for more stories of exquisite justice. I'll see you in the next one.